This is the Original Firefighter Podcast, where we talk about anything you would talk about at the firehouse kitchen table. And sometimes we even talk about fighting fires. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Original Firefighter Podcast. I am your host, Will Peterson, and we have a great show for you. Tons to get to, several segments to go through together. And this journey of our episode, we have Aaron Bybee and also in the studio for the first time, Bulk Brogan. Bulk, how you doing, bro?
Hell yeah, brother. Let's go.
What's going on, my guy? This is incredible. We didn't expect this. In fact, what are you doing here on planet Earth? I think that you were called up to heaven last week, weren't you not?
Well, I was doing some reps in powerlifting, RIP, and I thought I'd come and visit y'all, so thanks for having me. Can I get a hey?
We're going to give you an amen for your effort here. We are blessed for sure here at the Original Firefighter. If you are listening, you should jump over to YouTube right now and take a look at Bulk Brogan. Now, are you related to Hulk Hogan, or are you like a counter spirit of him?
Brother, let me tell you, that man was my brother. I'd like to say a few things if I can.
You absolutely.
He was a real American, fought for the rights of every man.
Could feel him fighting for myself. And Aaron, do you feel him fighting for you?
Oh, I feel it. I feel a little bit like I'm talking to my elementary school lunchbox.
Yeah, right. This is great. Oh my God, we got the hand gestures, the arms going up, flexing. Bulk Brogan, you are bringing it home to the Original Firefighter show today. That's for sure. What's great about this, Bulk, is that you dubiously have joined a line of our the 1980s that I grew up in. Our heroes are passing on. This past week has been kind of tragic, actually, and we're losing some of our innocence here. Have you seen Ozzy Osbourne up there with you?
Brother, let me tell you about that guy. He's not where I am.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Prince of Darkness.
I've been on the internet, and every depiction is him at the pearly gates with the rest of all of you, which is kind of funny. I'm like, how did they all go to heaven? Did they?
If you ask
Nobody
the
went to
Jehovah's,
hell.
only about 350,000 go there. So,
like nobody went to hell. I think that's kind of funny.
you
They
know
all
who
went
was
to
there?
heaven.
Theo Huxtable.
Theo Huxtable.
Right.
Rest in peace.
Man.
Malcolm Jamal Warner. That's his was actually a very real tragedy. He sounds like he drowned, got swept up in a riptide. Hopefully, gosh darn, the families of all these people, they have had quite the week. Let's not forget we've lost Michael Madsen from obviously he's many movies, but the one that comes to mind for me is Reservoir Dogs.
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, now we got the pointing finger from Bulk Brogan, which is so iconic. Bulk, did you run into Rowdy Piper up there? Mean Joe Green, anything like that?
Yeah, but the one that meant the most, Andre.
Andre,
Giant.
yes.
Slam.
Yeah. Has he lost any weight?
No.
He's eating good up there.
He's
man.
eating well. Yeah.
It takes him 4 cases of wine now to get drunk.
Right. That's the bitch about being in heaven. You're like, I can't get drunk up here.
You know that day at SummerSlam when I lifted him up?
Yeah.
He told me before I did it, he was up. I said, up. I knew I had to do it.
My God, I don't even know what to do with
This is
that.
crazy.
What's great about this is we're remembering all of our 80s heroes. I just want to know, is anyone thinking at all about the fact we've also lost Jimmy Swaggart? Just curious. I had to sit through miserable sermons on, I think, Sundays with my grandparents with that one.
I avoided that whole scene, thank goodness.
Yeah. Oh, bro, Bulk Brogan, you're having some technical difficulties with your outfit there. Let's go back to Ozzy Osbourne though. We did do a quick short this last week. We were asking people what were your favorite Ozzy songs, and the some of the concerts that people went to. Got some really good interaction with people, especially on TikTok. We appreciate that. And anytime that we're soliciting any feedback, please give it back to us at Original Firefighter. Our platforms. You can also contact us at info@originalfirefighter.com if you want to comment on an episode or suggest anything. But just sticking with this segment, Ozzy was big for me, guys. I know Hulk Hogan was surprising. I mean, it was like, first of all, Ozzy Osbourne outlived Hulk Hogan. I'm not sure how that happened. So Ozzy was what, 76 years old, Hulk Hogan 71 years old. It would appear as if Hulk Hogan was the guy that was in better shape, but I'm sure that some of the gear that he might have taken in his previous years probably caught up to him.
Dude, if you body slam Andre the Giant, like, your body's going to give out on you at some point.
Your heart's already ready to blow out, right?
So at that point, your heart was enlarged.
Yeah.
It grew 10 times.
And Ozzy was pretty well preserved, I think. Like, almost pickled,
Right. Who knew that drugs,
for years?
Who knew that drugs, alcohol, and bat blood would be the cure for most
fountain
things?
Of youth. Yeah.
The fountain of youth, right? So everyone we need to protect Keith Richards right now. We have to make sure that he's well bubble wrapped, and we don't want to lose any more. But 2025 has been like seriously difficult for those of us who grew up in the 80s. If you were born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, Generation X, the greatest generation to live, except for those that stormed the beaches of Normandy, I will always salute them first. It's been a tough week. Hulk Hogan was a surprise to follow Ozzy Osbourne so quickly.
Comes in threes, so hopefully pump the brakes for a little bit.
I think we've already done that, right? I think we're into 4s and 5s at this point.
Yeah, let's just leave it there. We don't need any more. Yeah.
So, did you guys grow up watching the Cosby Show? I mean, pretty much all of America did, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
So, what were your favorite scenes with Theo, with Malcolm Jamal Warner? Any come to mind?
So yes. Okay. So mine was when he wants to move out.
Okay.
And then the dad,
don't
himself.
no.
Oh,
yeah. Turn around real quick because he's behind.
Well, we'll put a beep over that. So the one that comes to mind is that so Theo wants to move out, and so the dad has to teach the son what it actually is like to live on your own. So he basically charges. He starts to charge rent and everything inside the home. Theo, has to pay his room and board. Then he goes down to the kitchen and he starts to eat a sandwich, and all of a sudden he gets a bill for the sandwich and a pop, and a soda and whatever. I mean, I liked it. It was good. Yeah. Pretty wholesome there. This is stupid. I want to talk about Ozzy. I'm sorry, but I want to go back to Ozzy. We did have some great interaction. I had asked the question out there. I said, what was your favorite song of Ozzy, which I know is tough. But mine happened to be No More Tears and the duo between him and Zakk Wylde. I thought Zakk Wylde was just badass. I know everyone goes for Randy Rhoads, but I'm a Zakk Wylde guy.
I couldn't care less.
Okay. All right. We're going to have to...
Sorry, man.
Do we want to just start over?
I was never a huge Ozzy fan. I mean, he had some great songs. I just I didn't follow him. Sorry,
okay.
Internet.
Well, did anybody, either one of you guys, did you guys watch WWF, WWE? You guys watch any of that stuff for real?
Yeah, I watched that stuff for a while when I was a kid.
Wow, yeah.
The Hulkster was the icon for me. For sure.
Absolutely.
He was America, man.
And
he was America.
I messed up. I said SummerSlam when he took up Andre. It was WrestleMania. Shame on me. I will admonish myself later. That's my bad.
It's out there. Just look up. Yeah. Look up Hulk Hogan body slam Andre the Giant.
Yeah,
all over the internet.
Yeah, and then and the fact that like Hulk Hogan, he did speak at Donald Trump's at the RNC, right?
Oh yeah. Talked about Trumpomania.
Ripped his shirt off. All right, go change. We'll pause.
All right, thank you.
Where can I get that T-shirt? Well, we got the answer. Go to originalfirefighter.com where you will find any of the T-shirts or hats that you see us wearing on the show. For every purchase at originalfirefighter.com, we give 5% back to supporting mental health and wellness for first responders. Go to originalfirefighter.com, join in the community, join in, and become an original firefighter.
So yes, we've obviously lost some of the biggest iconic people of the 80s, and we hope that there's going to be very few going into the rest of this year. However, what's not going away is the Epstein files. Those things continue to linger, and not only just linger, but it's really starting to punch through the stratosphere. I mean, it's all over the news right now. It was the leading talk show this morning on Sunday morning shows, and really everywhere you go right now. This is starting to become a critical mass moment because, if I think about it's mounting pressure from the public, and I think it's for good reason. Everyone, I think, deserves answers to this particular story. It's gone beyond just a story. I want to get your guys' input on this, but one of the things I want to lead with is that obviously this entire scandal was, I think it was exacerbated by the Attorney General Pam Bondi, who basically came out not that long ago and said that, she had all the files on her desk, she had the lists on her desk, however you want to spin it. But, she started, I mean, they handed out 3-ring binders. And, those binders, people, it was the press corps walking out of the White House, and they had these 3-ring binders that looked like they were significant and monumental for this situation. And so far, it's turned out to be nothing but bupkis, and now we have a situation where you've got FBI director and the co-director there. They're at odds, it seems, with Pam Bondi. There's been threatening of, I'm going to step down from my position if the files aren't fully released. And there's this public outcry, and President Trump was earlier saying that he was ready to release all the files, but yet this particular week, this last week, when, again, we've lost all these iconic heroes and all this kind of stuff, and yet there's this Epstein thing happening. And, the questions surrounding whether or not, he committed suicide or if he was somehow taken out. You got Ghislaine Maxwell sitting behind bars, and now you got the Justice Department going and visiting with her and interviewing her for a day and a half. She's talking about over 100 different people that interacted with all of this scandal to possibly, it keeps coming up. I mean, you got a lot of photos out there with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together, to include this Maxwell and also President Trump's wife even. So it's like it just gets to this place where we're all kind of like sitting back going, clearly the law has been broken in one way or another, and it can't just be that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. And that's it. That's the end of it, right? I mean, I think this thing is just not going to go away. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we got to find a responsible way to release everything that we can, right? Without maybe putting victims at risk, but releasing anything that would just be aiding in the transparency of the situation. If there's really nothing there, then let's release everything that we have. If there's something there, then we need to figure out how to filter it in a way where we can answer the questions of the public. I mean, it feels like they're working really, really hard to hide nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And who would you say they are? That's always curious to me. They, is it, I mean, at this point, Phil go ahead, Aaron. yeah.
At this point, it feels like he was so deeply connected to so many people on all sides of the aisle that I don't know that there's just one they.
What do you think,
Who's ready
Phil?
to go down a rabbit hole?
Go,
all right,
Phil. Go,
You
Phil.
brought it up, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
you have to bring it up. This
absolutely.
is the Firehouse conversation going on at the kitchen table.
100%,
I know people are
yeah.
talking about this.
So the whole Epstein list, listen, if Donald Trump was on it, I'm pretty sure that the Democrats in power the past 4 years would have released everything that would have been detrimental to Donald Trump.
Yep, I've heard that. Yep, go ahead.
Then you hear the other side of the argument. Well, they didn't release it because maybe they were on it. Listen, they controlled the documents. They could have falsified anything and just released the Donald Trump stuff that was there.
Sure.
So I don't think Donald Trump was in it other than acquaintance and friend, right? I mean, we throw that term around loosely with this because if you are connected to Jeffrey Epstein, somehow you're automatically, a pervert, a degenerate, a scumbag, all these things, right? So, I think that's what they try and use that as slander to say that. So I don't think Trump was went to flew on the Lolita Express, went to Little St. James, the Epstein Island stuff. But it is curious that there are people that were there. And so when you go back to it all with Pam Bondi, she fucked up.
Yeah. Everyone agrees she fucked up.
Hard. And so this is the problem with Trump. Everybody's blaming Trump, but how many irons in the fires can you have at one time that you can't control everything, right? I mean, look at what's going on in the country. And I think most people would agree that at least don't hate Trump and are never Trump and all these things. Everything's going pretty well, right? Gas is down, groceries are down, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The border is finally secured. Over 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported. That's not even what he's deported from the country, but self-deported in 6 months. So things are going well with it. This is the one mess up so far in the administration and something that he maybe doesn't have control of. And I don't agree with how he's handled it. Calling everybody who's talking about it weaklings and don't vote for me. It's like, well, Mr. Trump, unfortunately, you're out in 3 years, so we're not too worried about that. But when you want to go back to who was actually involved with this and what does the list look like, I think everybody thinks there's going to be truckloads of documents coming out. It's like, that's not what the Epstein files are really at the end of the day, right? Everything's going to be heavily redacted because a lot of it's going to be talking about victims of these crimes. But it is interesting that.
Well, Phil doesn't. Okay, let me break this down with you and Aaron as well. I mean, when we talk about lists, okay, right? The Epstein files, the lists, right? Has there been a list established of just the people who have been on this airplane to his island? Just the manifest of those who traveled. Yeah, the flight logs,
those have been released.
Those have been released.
Oh, yeah, they've been released for years. Donald Trump is on flight logs, but his flight log was from Florida to New York, right? To no island of any sort. There are other names on that list that actually went to that island, though. And those are all public. A lot of this information is already public. The 3-ring binders that Pam Bondi gave out, it wasn't even, you'd mentioned it was the press corps, it wasn't even the press corps. It was social media influencers that got that. They brought in the girl who runs the Libs of TikTok page, right? I mean, DC Drano, who's on Twitter, X, all these conservative influencers. They brought them into it. That's who had those 3-ring binders. The problem is they put an embargo on that information, so they weren't able to talk about that information until they officially released it. Problem is someone leaked it. The information in those binders, yet again, already public knowledge. Very minimal information that we learned anything from because of that. So this whole thing has just been messed up from the beginning. But if you go back, it is interesting to see Jeffrey Epstein and his ties to certain people. He visited the White House while Bill Clinton was president over 17 times.
Yeah.
It
won't be a shock to me if Bill Clinton is somehow really involved in this whole thing.
Really involved.
No
why is there a portrait of Bill Clinton in a blue dress in Epstein's house, right? I mean, when you want to talk about Trump and Epstein, maybe there's something there, but yet again, if there was, it would have been released already. They were both billionaires living in New York City and Florida. Of course, there's going to be interaction there, right? I mean, that's just what happens. People stay within their circles and their groups, right? With things. All my friends are firemen. It's because I'm a fireman, right? I mean, there's not many people outside of that world that I communicate with, really. So you stay within your circles. So that's what happened. The problem is people forget, what did Trump do back in the early 2000s? He assisted the FBI with Jeffrey Epstein. He kicked him out of his club.
Yes, right.
You know, I mean,
did.
There's things that Trump did that people want to brush over. And I mean, if you want to talk about them trying to slander Trump, it's the 50th birthday note that they say that he wrote,
right.
Which sounds nothing like anything Trump would say, and everyone says that, and he's suing them for how much money now?
Doesn't it seem, again, it's always these weird connections where, okay, you bring up the 50th birthday note, and it's signed by Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump is out there in the talking world, in the talking space, saying, well, I don't remember writing a note, and I didn't sign that. And it's like we end up playing a shell game where in one instance, when people say, well, I didn't sign my name to that note, I guess how many times does that even make sense to people? I get that, you know, we're certainly not in different, and we're in different worlds. You know, my name versus the president of the United States name is, you know, there's his name is extremely paramount to so many things in the world. He's an icon to himself. So when he says that my signature showed up on a note that I didn't write, it seems like if I think about like things that I've signed in my lifetime and then I look at something, I go, I didn't sign that, and there's my signature, and it's like perfectly like my signature, it would indicate like I'm lying. How many times
in today's
does your
society? I mean, how many times has he signed things? Everybody knows what his signature looks like.
Sure.
And what do we live in right now? We live in the era of AI. Right now, there's so much information. That's what it is, right? You flood it with information. You flood a space with information, and then no one knows what the truth is. And that's exactly what's happening. That's what they're doing. The Democrats don't want this released. The Republicans don't want this released. The deep state doesn't want this released. The Illuminati, the aliens, whatever you want to say, because that's really what it is. It's whoever the elite are that control everything.
But the public wants it released.
100%, but the public's not in control. The whole point of what you were talking about.
Isn't that the whole point of a democracy, is that we're supposed to be control?
Well, let's continue down this rabbit hole. If you think we're in control of anything,
okay. That's okay. I'm just pushing a little bit here to say, isn't the public supposed to be the ones to say, we demand from our elected officials who we duly elect, we demand transparency, right? And what I'm trying to drive at here is that I particularly think that President Donald Trump has been one of the most transparent type individuals that's ever sat in that office, or to be in government in the first place. I think that when you look at the Washington belt and the swamp, if you will, that does exist, I do believe him when he says that I want to drain the swamp, I want to expose all the things, I want the American people to see things for what they are. But then all of a sudden, the brakes get put on real hard when this whole thing, this Epstein scandal, comes to not only just to light, but just it's sitting on the surface of the water and it's not going away. It's as if everybody wants to drown it, but it's not going away. I think the problem is that there are actual victims in this whole thing. There are actually underage girls, children, it sounds like, of I don't know, maybe both sexes, but there's underage individuals that are truly have been wronged, and the public wants accountability. It's like if people don't go to jail for this, then what the hell are they going to go to jail for?
Well, didn't we say the same thing about when Seattle and Portland and Minneapolis were burning? If people don't go to jail over this, then what the hell will they? This is the thing. It's all about control. And you know what? That's awesome that you still believe that you have a voice or say or power in it. And I applaud you for that. But I mean, there's no such thing as a two-party process that we have. It's called the uniparty for a reason, right? These people are all owned by big oil, big pharma, big whatever, right? And so at the end of the day, all we can do is try and start at the local level, and it's about community, and that's the biggest thing. The federal politics stuff, like, we can talk about what is their main goal: to protect us, right? Well, then why are we $37 billion billion? Whoa, sorry about that. $1 trillion
nice?
In debt,
right? Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, because it's about control, right? If you keep people poor, stupid, and fat, and sick,
Aaron, do you think it would
right?
be?
I mean, like, you have complete control.
Do you think it would
them.
be Yeah. Do you think that it would be a domino effect? Because what I think I'm hearing from Phil is that I think what you're suggesting there is that this goes to beyond the president of the United States. This could be like our Fortune 500 corporate owners, and if they were to be exposed, all of a sudden, these businesses become critically evaluated. There's trust lost in all these different areas within our government, within our commercial and industrial societies, where we basically park our money, and then all of a sudden you have this domino effect of CEO, president of big company, and they're on the manifest, they're on the list, they've participated in these things that have gone on the Epstein Island. Do you think that that's what we're talking about? Is this domino?
You just nailed it, right? let's say someone came to you and said, okay, these crimes were committed 25, 30 years ago, right? We have the information. Now, they could say to you, if you release this information, we're going to come after you and your family, and you can make your decision there. Or the other side of that could be, if you release this information, millions upon millions of people will die because of your decision to release this information, because you have princes and kings and heads of state and heads of corporations all on this. And if this comes out, the global economy is done. It will crash.
Really?
What happens when
over
that
the Epstein over this?
What I mean,
Yeah.
Prince Andrew was on it, right? He was shunned by his family, allegedly. 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 I don't need the crown coming after me, but
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
shunned from his family, stripped of all of his titles because of this, that the royal family had to pay out how much money to these victims.
Right.
Right? That's one person. That is one person. Imagine if it was kings of Saudi Arabia or princes and here and
He's,
you know what I'm
he's
saying?
really like the only one that we've heard of that has been
That's it.
actually held accountable, right?
But how does Ghislaine Maxwell get 20 years in prison for trafficking? Trafficking to who? Right?
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly.
So, I mean, so obviously there is some sort of list. Unfortunately, we're never going to hear it. This is all noise. Trump is now investigating it. They're looking at her. They're talking to her, which is insane to think this is the first time ever the FBI has interrogated her or questioned her. The first time.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
They haven't done it before.
Wow.
How? So, and now you give her limited immunity, and she's supposedly being very forthcoming, giving all the information and naming names and things like that. But how reliable is that?
Do you guys
Right?
think, Aaron? I'd like to hear from both of you. Do you guys think that any kind of pardon should be even entertained? Should she get anything at all? A pardon of any kind from the president?
How badly do you want the information?
That's a big, deep sigh there, Aaron.
Yeah, I think no. Accountability needs to be had. I think the problem is nobody wants to go public, and she's the one that's already been, like, she's the lamb that's been brought to slaughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from like a integrity standpoint, I don't think you make a deal with her, but we've got to find a way to like bring other people out of the woodwork and start getting real information from them. I agree. I think that, like you said, Will, you got a guy like Epstein. Who is he rubbing shoulders with? It's not just political figures, right? It's business owners. It's people in places of influence. And so there could be a domino effect that happens if and when those names are released. I do think, we like to name things so that we can talk about them. So calling it a list, this isn't like there's not a piece of paper with a bunch of names. It's not a little black book, right? It's looking at the financial documents and the travel plans and the manifests and all those things, and establishing who had a relationship with him, and then doing the dirty work of trying to uncover what that relationship actually was and what were the results of it and what were the actions that took place, and were they criminal or not, and to what extent. But, man, I think that there's just a lot of powerful people, and it's in their advantage to keep everything silenced. And so, I think it needs to come out, but just being a realist, I don't think it's going to. I think they're going to keep burying it until there's a new news cycle that takes the attention of the American public.
Phil, what would you say to that as far as
I think there's going to be information coming out, but I don't think it's going to be what everybody wants.
Well, so I guess what I was going to ask there, based on what Aaron had just offered up, was that would we find ourselves at any point, you think, where there is a leaker out there willing to, kind of like a Snowden that would come out and say, all right, this thing is so big. And again, I let off with this segment to say I've done my research this past week. Clearly we had all kinds of other interesting things happen. Sadly, obviously the passing of some iconic individuals, and yet this, Epstein situation, it just keeps pushing through. It led off every show this morning on the Sunday morning broadcasts, and then it keeps getting another onion layer peeled back. And you just brought up, for example, they spent a day and a half interviewing Maxwell herself, and then what does she talk about? She talks about 100 different people. This is basically her attorney saying this, is that she talked about, answered questions about 100 different people. So does someone out there kind of snowed in this situation and say, you know what, I'm going to take the fall. I'm going to jump out there and I'm going to put this information out there.
This episode of the Original Firefighter Podcast is sponsored by Castle Contracting. Castle Contracting offers commercial and residential restoration, leading the industry in roofing, residential siding, gutters and downspouts, egress window installation, storm damage assessment and repair, and solar energy, saving you money and time. If you want to be treated like royalty, contact Castle Contracting to schedule a free inspection. Call them at 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. That's 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. Serving Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, Castle Contracting has you covered. Your home is your castle. Call Castle Contracting today.
Yet again, who has the information? What information do they have, and where's it coming from? I don't know if you have.
And who's got the motivation to do it?
Yet again, I think when you've been offered two possible solutions to releasing that list, millions and millions of people will be affected and harmed by this. Do you want to do that? Where's your moral line at for that? But also, it's like, yeah, you remember when Trump took one in the ear? That was the warning shot, right? I don't actually think that, right? I think he got very lucky as a miracle. But
yeah,
we've taken out presidents in the past who killed JFK, right? Who killed RFK? Those are threats that.
Well,
you want to do it?
I think you could say that if you don't subscribe to ongoing, continuous conspiracy theory, you can say that an individual, and you can insert the name there. You could say that Lee Harvey Oswald did assassinate JFK. You could say that, but you could also ask the question: what was he motivated by? Who was backing him? That's kind of been the thing that I when I look at these monumental moments in our history. And to your point, I mean, we have proven that these top officials can be taken out. Donald Trump almost was taken out, not more than more than once, while he was attempting to be reelected for the second time. And but the thing that always I am fascinated by is the fact that things are dropped at the very last, the 11th hour. It's like, okay, we wrap it all up with JFK, and we say Lee Harvey Oswald, he solely assassinated the president. It's like, yeah, maybe he pulled the trigger, but who was manipulating the puppet?
It's kind of like the Warren Commission on that, like
right, exactly.
The magic bullet theory was the official narrative, just like
sure.
The 9/11, interviews with people, and Dick Cheney and George Bush only testified when they weren't under oath, and they were able to do it together, and there was no information that came from that.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, our country is, as great as it is, has many flaws, and I would say the intelligence community is part of the flaws.
Yeah.
So now that being said, I've been getting phone calls from Russia. So, I mean, at this point, I'm on some list somewhere, because one day they're going to come back and be like, why did you speak with Russia 5 times in a 2-day period? It's like, fuck.
In Russia, Epstein drives you.
Now, I do have, here's my theory. I personally think Epstein was the patsy and the fall guy, and Ghislaine was the mastermind of it all. Do you want to hear how? Do you want to hear about this?
That's
story?
an interesting theory.
Do you know who?
Do
you know who Ghislaine Maxwell's father is?
No, I do not. Go ahead.
So he was a gentleman by the name of Robert Maxwell, who, when he died, was rumored to be part of multiple different intelligence organizations potentially 3, potentially the Mossad with Israel, potentially with MI6, and then potentially with the Russians too. He died under some very suspicious circumstances on a boating incident where he just never got found. It's the craziest thing in the world. But his whole background is interesting when you think about it too, because he was was alive during World War II, was part of intelligence then, ended up coming and going to England and ended up becoming very rich through different media and radio operations there. And so his background is a little sketchy there. So potentially raised her, guided her through that. Her and Jeffrey Epstein got together. In the 80s, let's be honest, like a female madam probably wasn't catching the attention of a lot of the powerful elite if they wanted to maybe honeypot or trap them that way.
Sure.
Kind of like, how Hugh Hefner used to do, because
Sure.
that was definitely happening in the grotto, right? I mean, that was a whole honeypot in itself that the intelligence communities used. But so that was always my theory, was she was actually the running the show, and Jeffrey Epstein was just the financier,
The front
guy.
door.
He was the male figure that people were like, oh, okay, this guy. Because I mean, you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, his background is super weird. He started out,
for sure.
I mean, got hired by former Attorney General Bill Barr's father.
Well, did
right,
he started out as a teacher, didn't he?
He was a math teacher.
He was a math
who was
teacher.
a college dropout at the age of 20, not at a very rich school.
Yeah.
Right. And then somehow gets hired to go work at Bear Stearns or something because the guy's kid went to that school.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Epstein wasn't even at that school for that long to actually like really make an impact. And then next thing you know, now he's in charge of a lot of backdoor shady shit going on in the finance world. So to make him the face of it, I think is pretty simple. I think she was kind of the mastermind because they were always together, even when they weren't together, right? And here she is still alive, and where's him? Where's he?
Yeah.
Was it John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, had a good line. He goes, name 2 things that don't hang themselves.
Oh.
Christmas lights and Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow.
I mean,
Oh, that's good. That's so good.
so that was always my theory. I think she was a little bit more involved than people let her.
Well, I think this is something that is going to be flogged for a while, and hopefully there are real answers that come out of this, and not just obviously if you're listening and viewing, we're sort of digging into it as much as we can on any podcast and doing the best that you can to go off of the information that's been presented or available. We ask for the all of the transparency, just like the American public wishes they could have. I do believe, I think Original Firefighter believes that the public is entitled to that kind of information because we want to know. We want to know where to where to put our support for the next generation of leaders in our country. We don't want to be the followers of individuals that get to lurk in shadowy areas of industries in our country that can get away with trafficking young minors of any age, of any gender to this island and those that visited it. So that's been a very deep dive in the Original Firefighter podcast world on the Epstein files. We're going to switch over here to some things that are going on a normal basis. And I say normal because I've kind of been crusading this conversation since the beginning of 2025. It really began with that air collision between the commercial aircraft and the military aircraft that collided over D.C. Earlier this year, killing everybody on board. It was the single most tragic airline event that had happened since 9/11 here in the United States. In the last week, there has been numerous close calls, and we're talking about flights that have had, crazy incidents that have happened. And most of them the majority of them have been because of communication errors. Now, the first one I'm going to lead off on is this Alaskan Airlines flight. And I bring this one up because on Original Firefighter, it just so happens that back when we were at FDIC, we were able to interview on our podcast a couple of gentlemen from the Kodiak Island Fire Department. So those two individuals, they were on our show. We got to have a great conversation at FDIC. They happened to be from Kodiak Island, Alaska. And then this past week, this was 2 days ago, it was flight 231 out of Anchorage, Alaska, going to Kodiak Airport. And as they were landing, they did land, and as they land and they were rolling out to their final resting point, they hit 2 deer on the runway. They literally, strike these 2 deer. The deer, they're dead. But I'm just curious as to, first of all, how does this even happen? I'm assuming that the airport is fenced off, and somehow these deer got clearance to enter the runway space of this flight.
Were they reindeer with Santa?
I was going to say maybe they're reindeer.
Yeah, so it does.
Santa
Yeah,
has
so it
whatever
becomes
clearance
grandma's reindeer got ran over by an Alaskan Airlines flight. So, but
we get Willie
look,
Nelson to
they're
sing that
fast
song?
animals, but they're not bright animals. I mean,
they're not bright animals. Were they caught in the headlights, you think?
I think anybody that totally. Anybody that lives near forest area anywhere has either experienced or at least is 1 degree of separation from somebody who's experienced being hit by a deer. Not hitting a deer, being hit by a deer.
Right.
Like I have multiple relatives that have just been driving down the road at night and deer just come running out, not looking. They don't look both ways like we do, or we're supposed to. You'd have to have a pretty tall fence too to keep those deer out. I'm sure they're like it's like Jurassic Park. They're testing the fence, the perimeter for weaknesses.
Right. Life will find a way.
Life will find a way. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy. I mean, you can't just stop on a dime.
No. So the reason to
Just
jump
speed
off
up
with this,
and-
like I said, is because, and I think that it's tragic for any loss of life that includes animals. But I had to draw my attention to the fact that this plane was landing at Kodiak Island, and we'd had these 2 firefighters from the Kodiak Island Fire Department on our show. But that swings me over to a far more scary situation with this past Friday, Southwest Flight 1496. It headed leaving from LA, the LA area, to Las Vegas. And this was about 8 minutes into takeoff, which I don't know if you guys, I've kind of looked into a couple of these things. So, I don't think anyone's going to be shocked to know that, your scariest parts of any flight are takeoff and landing. Right. That's when typically takeoff is where things go tragically the worst most of the time. And in sure, form here, about 8 minutes into flight of this flight taking off, flight 1496, the Southwest flight 1496, it takes off about 8 minutes into the flight. They're about to start serving the drink service. And the software on board this flight, it engages and causes the flight to go into a dive that was referred to as more of a free fall. And this was to avoid a midair collision with another plane.
This episode is brought to you by Strike the Box Cigars, Pipes, and Tobacco. Whether you're a seasoned aficionado or just starting your journey into the world of fine tobacco, Strike the Box has what you need. From the finest cigars to premium loose leaf tobacco, Strike the Box delivers on quality in a welcoming space where you can enjoy a smoke and good company. Additionally, Strike the Box specializes in vintage pipe restoration. We're talking estate pipes brought back to life with craftsmanship that borders on art. Got Grandpa's old briar gathering dust? Let the crew at Strike the Box make it smoke like new. Check out their full list of vintage pipes for sale at striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois. Soak in the aroma and talk shop with real tobacco lovers from the American Fire Service. Strike the Box, where fire, flavor, and tradition meet. Again, that's striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois.
And the passengers on board, those that were coming out and talking after this incident, they were basically saying that, they thought this was the end. People were screaming. They thought this was, I would think this would be the end if I was free falling for 8 minutes on a flight, or 8 seconds on a flight. An 8-second free fall in a commercial airliner has got to be.
That's insane. That would be terrifying.
Yeah.
It looks like we're driving the rest of the way, family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody out.
Everybody
Listen,
out. We're not doing this. We're not
LA
doing
to
this.
Vegas ain't that long of a drive. I'm driving.
The thing that I thought was the most interesting was that this was written up by the newspaper out of LA, and it was basically saying that although this incident had occurred, that the flight did land uneventfully in Vegas. And I was like, uneventfully? I don't think that qualifies anymore after the free fall.
No.
I don't think you get to insert that word into your journalistic opinion or writing of this story. I think that it was very eventful, and most of these people went off the plane and went right to church, is what my guess is.
So two things here. So, they were going to Vegas. I mean, modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So they weren't going to Bible camp. That probably wouldn't have happened.
boy.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Just saying. But secondly, I've never.
What if
pooped
they
my
were trying to go to Vegas to convert people away from gambling?
Hey, maybe this is true. Coming from LA, though, probably not. Now,
Right.
I've never pooped my pants before, so that's a pretty eventful thing in my life.
That's a poop your
and I'm
pants
pretty
moment
sure
for
that
sure.
probably happened with them. So
There were some flight attendants that were injured on this flight. I think it was a couple of them, and I can imagine. So a free fall, and you just starting drink service. I got to imagine that depending on what they got out there, just the drink cart itself, the weight of it, just flying up in the air. Again, I wasn't on the flight. I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but the people coming off of this and the testimonials that have been out there, that have been put out there, was that they basically thought this was the end. And I can totally understand how that could be. This goes a little bit further, and this is why we wanted to talk about this. And I'm going to wrap this with some questions here. So if you're listening and viewing, the reason why I continue to talk about these airline mishaps to include tragedies that have occurred this year in 2025, this is ongoing. It continues to happen. And in the same week as we have the Alaskan Airlines flight, we got the Southwest flight that we just talked about. And then on top of that, go back a few days before all that, and we have a regional flight, a SkyWest flight operated by Delta. It's a regional flight. It takes off out of Minneapolis, and as it begins its approach into the Minot, North Dakota, and apparently there's a commercial passenger airport in Minot, and also there's an Air Force base at Minot, and this SkyWest Delta regional flight, as it's beginning its landing approach, has to do this quick maneuver again to avoid a mid-air collision with a B-52 bomber. And basically the pilot has to basically, come and say, come out and say that they didn't know that there was anything else in the airspace, that they weren't warned by air traffic control. And I'm just like, this is just a few of these incidents that have happened in the last week. Just that's the thing that I want to keep in mind in this conversation, is that this is just in the last week.
I like how I don't know how far you got into reading about that one, but the pilot gets on the overhead and he's like, sorry about that, I'll explain everything when we land.
Yeah.
And then they land, he's like, well, he was going a lot faster than we were. I don't know how fast he was going, but it was really fast.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd take a couple turns so we could make it back. That's crazy.
Yeah. So
can you imagine that?
No, I can't. I can't. Well, the one I can't imagine. So I'll share something real quick. I just took off from Phoenix, Arizona, Sky Harbor. This was in June. I had a flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor back to O'Hare Airport, and we were on the tarmac. We pushed from the gate. We rolled out to the main runway to start taking off. The engines went up to full throttle, like flight attendants prepare for takeoff is what was said, and engines go up to full throttle. And all of a sudden, as we start to kind of like do that lurch forward, then the engines went right down to zero, basically, just shut down. And we had that little lurch forward that you feel, and then we were back in our seat, and everybody on the flight kind of gave a gasp, if you will, a low gasp. And what had happened was that when we were rolling out to the runway, you could hear like there was some kind of like a grinding gear noise coming from the front landing gear. And the pilot had come on when these engines shut down, and she had said, well, as you can tell, we are not taking off. We've had an alarm go off in the cockpit, and there's something wrong with our landing gear, our front landing gear. So we returned back to the gate, and it was the craziest thing. They did not deplane us. They basically got us back to the gate. I could see, I was in the front of the airplane. I could see the maintenance personnel with their orange vests. They came in. The pilot and co-pilot stepped out of the cockpit, and now they were standing. Like I could see the pilot standing right in front of us, and she was just sort of like, just having a small conversation while these maintenance people were in the cockpit. And they operated the front landing gear no less than 100 times. You could just hear the, and this went on for like 5-10 minutes. I couldn't tell you exactly, but they just kept operating the front landing gear over and over and over. And 45 minutes later, they were like, "Well, we can't find anything wrong. We're going to sign off on some paperwork, and we're going to take off." And I'm over here going,
"You're like, can I get off?"
I've been talking about aviation problems of 2025 since the beginning of 2025 on the Original Firefighter Podcast. I keep bringing this up because I'm like, where is the public outcry? If we're going to have so much outcry about the Epstein files, let's have a conversation about something that actually touches all of us.
Brother, that was the deep state coming for you. That was your warning shot right there, man. It's like my Russia calls, your aviation stuff.
Exactly.
What surprised me in that article about the near collision with the B-52 was that small regional airport doesn't operate radar.
Oh,
it's
really?
Visual only.
Wow.
And they're next to an Air Force base that B-52s are flying out of. Like,
wow.
How is that even possible?
Seems a little silly.
Yeah.
I got a suggestion. Is let's maybe stop building commercial passenger airports next to military bases or where military aircraft are flying. Let's maybe not do that anymore.
If you're going to start a list like that, let's maybe also not sell farmland to China that happens to be adjacent to Air Force bases.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The land of liberty, land of freedom. Now, here's a question. So with the aviation stuff that's going on, do we think it's happening more often than it ever has, or are we just more aware of it because of social media and everybody has a voice?
I don't know. That's a good question, Phil, because we actually already had some pushback on one of our shorts we released.
I got some stats.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
But let me answer it this way: is that so we did get some pushback from a listener that said, we talk about a few incidents and yet there's many incidents that actually occur with aviation. In fact, just recently, when I say recently, just yesterday actually, at a small airport outside of Whitefish here, we had a 2-passenger plane that went down. It slid off the runway, and the 2 occupants aboard, they were fatalities. And this was just about, by Google Maps, it said it was about 44 minutes from where I live. And there was a lot of dispatch to this incident, but then a lot of cancellation too, because basically at the end of the day, there wasn't much to do with it.
I mean, this just happened in Ogle County too.
Yeah, exactly.
Really close to us.
Right. So, there's been, everything from small, medium to large catastrophes or near misses have happened this year. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's just that we are more tuned in and connected and we're just hearing more about these incidents. I think the point that I'm trying to make is, what does it matter? Because what I would want to say is that there are only a few industries where you don't get mulligans. We don't get, in the fire service, we don't get a whole lot of mulligans. We can mess up to a degree and maybe not get everything perfectly right. And most incidents don't go perfectly right. We have to make adjustments, but we don't get a lot of mulligans in the fire service. You don't get any mulligans in the sky. And we keep dealing with a situation out there where we know that we have air traffic controllers that are overwhelmed, overworked, and just trying to keep up with the flying industry. And yet the flying industry is keep pushing, we can't do without it. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that. We can't not have a flying public. That's going to be forever and always, that we have the capability to fly from one end of the country or one end of the world to the other, and we need that in our life. But where is the let's get this right? Let's get this funded. Let's start replacing antiquated equipment. Let's get the best technology up to date and up to speed, and the public needs to be demanding that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I'll say I think it's still fairly safe, and there's accidents and incidents that happen all the time. Sure. I've got up the NTSB dashboard here for their safety. So in the past 10 years, right, since 2015, it's about an average of 1,400 to 1,500 accidents a year, aviation accidents a year. And it doesn't break it down to commercial versus, private planes or private aviation. But I would probably guess that, like you mentioned, the 2-person passenger plane is the majority of these accidents. And then you talk about fatal versus non-fatal, and fatal is about under 400 a year. So this year in 2025 so far, I don't know how up to date this. I assume it's up to date because it's on the NTSB website. We're under 800. So they're less than half with halfway through the year than the previous averages have been too. So, so 1,400 accidents, when
out
you
of
take
how
that
many flights, right?
Exactly. I mean, how many are daily? This is probably a 0.01% of an incident that's occurring.
But when you get it wrong, when it does right, when it's wrong,
I mean, you want to know what happens far more frequently than aviation accidents.
Sure.
Medical accidents, right? I mean, that's why doctors are terrible. I mean, surgeons, man, I wouldn't want to do that job, but they've got a lot less of a success rate, I think, than the pilots on these planes. So I don't disagree. I think there definitely needs to be updates, and to think that we're still using air traffic controllers technology is still analog. It looks like a Pong game.
Yeah, the copper wiring.
85, it hasn't changed. But I also understand that, can that get hacked? Nope. So the safety aspect there too.
Yeah, sure.
I'll refer to the aviation experts on this. Now, if you want me to throw a ladder, hell yeah, brother, let's go. That's where my expertise lies.
Absolutely.
Maybe tying a rope or two, but that's it. Throwing an axe, I can throw a hatchet.
It's funny you bring up the medical mishaps that occur more than say aviation tragedies. And I saw this good joke the other day. It said, make sure you start working out and eating right, because right now there's a medical student that's getting through medical school on ChatGPT.
I fear for our future.
Right.
God.
Well, they're not the ones that are going to be performing the procedure, so we're good. That'll be in the hands of robots.
Yeah. We already have it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just...
What do they call that one with the cardiac...
through the neck.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's crazy.
The Da Vinci, right? Isn't that what the machine's called or something like that, I think?
Oh, I forget what it was called.
Something fancy.
Yeah.
Something only, someone who sits in the front of the plane can afford.
Totally.
Hey.
I was going to ask, when you're like, oh, sitting in the front, I'm like,
I heard it.
I always walk past those on my way to the way back by the shitters.
That's okay. I don't look up at you anyways.
How's the champagne?
Are you comfy? Sure am. Extra leg room.
I just put my shades on and look forward.
Yeah. Like these
I'm
shades.
that guy. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, we're getting a little bit of Bulk Brogan back.
Let me tell you something, brother. Okay, I'm done.
That also kind of makes me want to start to, just take a deep breath here and to talk about something that's a little bit more lighthearted. This past week, I was just kind of hanging out at my new place here in Whitefish, and me and all my friends.
That plant behind you?
That
is that
plant, this is my new friend right here. So far the welcome has been great though, and the firefighters here at Whitefish, they've been awesome. I mean,
your chief, they have to be nice to you.
No, it's been a great thing. That's funny.
It's funny because
that's
true.
funny. That's nice. But something that I think's been funny is I've been watching some of the some movies and things that have kind of made me feel like kind of warm and fuzzy. So I'm watching. So the other day I'm watching The Fugitive, and The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and
Tommy Lee Jones.
And so The Fugitive, it comes out in, I think it was 1993. It's a Harrison Ford classic. And do you remember the scene? Do you guys know the movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's in
All
Chicago.
Right. Yeah, of course. So is it based in, right? The movie was based in Chicago, and there's actually a lot of it was filmed in Chicago, and you'll be able to see this here in a second, where you're 90 minutes in, and it's when the bad guy calls in a fake fire at his apartment complex, and so he's trying to create a diversion and get away. And the Chicago Fire Department, they respond to this, this movie written sequence, and as the fire engine is pulling up, I notice, and if you pause it right about 90 minutes into the movie and you pause it, you'll notice that there is no hose in the fire engine that pulls up. There's nothing in the hose bed. It's just a firefighter that's on the tailboard, and they come rolling in, and there's no equipment. There's no fire hose on the hose bed. And I'm like, how does that pass the sniff test?
That's how they do it in
Clearly,
Chicago,
this is before consultants on movie sets, right?
Right. Yeah. All you got to do is just bring a firefighter onto the movie set and be like, yeah, no, that's not going to fly. They're going to notice that right away.
They had to have had a firefighter on that set anyway, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Backdraft, they used actual Chicago firefighters that were on the job.
Retired. I think he was a deputy chief. Steve Chikarotis was the one of the advisors to that movie.
Which movie?
Fun fact. Backdraft.
That was
The Backdraft?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember on I'm going to bring up Backdraft here in a second. Do you guys remember the guy that was super muscular? He actually is a Chicago firefighter, but he was also doing like first alert smoke detector commercials. And I actually met him. I don't even know how I met him. I think I was in Chicago doing a ride along with Squad 1, and I met him and talked to him briefly. And he was actually a Screen Actor Guild card holder. He played like extras. And I think he was an extra on one of the Arnold Schwarzenegger like commando type movies.
There's another guy in Backdraft. So Jack McGee, who was in that movie, right? He was the engineer. He broke the window. They put the supply hose through the window, right? Because parked in front of the hydrant, hooked it. He was actually a FDNY firefighter with Engine Company 38 and Ladder Company 51 in the Bronx. And then he ended up going on to rescue me. Was the chief, battalion chief, Jerry Riley, in that movie. Right. So, I mean, he knew what he was doing. So that's always cool to see. I mean, another good actor who spent about 5 years in the fire service was, anyone know? I'm going with it? Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi, yeah.
There's a really cool documentary he was in. Give me a second, I'll find it for you. But the Bronx.
While you're looking that up,
like
I think it was Kevin Casey.
Yes.
Retired Chicago firefighter and actor.
Yep.
And he played Hoover on Chicago Fire also.
Really?
Guess so. It's in his credits.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, he's like, he's kind of a household name probably to Chicago Fire, the actual department itself. And he's pretty recognizable if you're watching the movie Backdraft. I mean, like I said,
he's the only one that looks like a firefighter.
Yeah, he looks like a firefighter. He's built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah.
The documentary Buscemi was in was an HBO documentary called "A Good Job: Stories of the FDNY." Phenomenal one, came out in 2014. So check that out.
Well, Original Firefighter recommends that. Speaking of backdraft, so continuing on this segment here, I've always been curious, and I want to know you guys' opinion, especially you, Phil. I've always been curious, how is it that in the movie Backdraft, how did Brian McCaffrey
bang on the top of the truck? Oh, that we weren't going there? Because yet again, that's like showing up with no hose on the truck. Doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah. How did Brian McCaffrey, as a probie firefighter, because that's the way he's depicted, right? And he, somehow gets in the same company as his older brother, as his officer, nepotism. And so how does Brian McCaffrey, how does he transition mid-movie? How does he transition from a line firefighter to an arson investigator pretty much overnight?
I've got the answer for you. Ready?
Yes.
Hollywood magic.
Yeah, that's how they wrote it.
I know.
That's how. Yeah, that's how we wrote the story.
Right.
So that's
like,
how.
I want to know, what was the lightning process for him to have the credentials to be like, this probie thing is not working out. I'm just going to go hang out with Robert De Niro and be an arson investigator for the rest of the movie.
I just
Some
like
people
how
are
at
just
the end,
born with the natural ability,
He's just coming back to the fire station with his gear. Then the tones go off and he just jumps on, throws out his cup like, "Hey, good job."
Yeah. No discipline whatsoever.
Yeah.
He just gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And like you say, have sex on top of the fire truck with I can't even think of what her name is now. I can see her, but she played in
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
That's right. Yeah.
Because Rebecca De Mornay was
The wife of
the wife, Kurt Russell's future ex-wife.
of Stephen McCaffrey.
Yeah.
The McCaffrey brothers.
Yeah. You know why you'll never be a captain?
Yeah, right.
Lieutenant for life, baby.
So those have been some kind of interesting. I did watch those two movies this past week again, just sort of to comfort my my transition here, and just to do some interesting things for this particular episode, and just bring in some highlights. What I want to end with is that I just recently learned, I did not know this, and Aaron, I think it was really cool that you shared. I hope you put that photo up in this episode. So apparently in Livermore, California, I've never been there. And Aaron, you have been there? So
Yeah. Oh, I lived in Livermore for 6 years.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wow. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's most known for the labs, right? Lawrence Livermore Labs, which, they were a part of the whole atomic program. But yeah, this fire department, Station 6 there. Go ahead. I'll let you talk about it.
I think it's fascinating that you lived there. I did not know that. So it's great to have somebody from Original Firefighter that actually lived in Livermore, California. And so in that area, there's a fire department called the Pleasanton Fire Department. And they have, what I've come to understand, they have the oldest working light bulb in history. It's called the Centennial Bulb. It's been burning for over 120 years at Fire Station number 6, as you just mentioned, Aaron. At Fire Station number 6, 120 years, this light bulb has been lit, has been burning, or emanating light, however you want to say that. That's older than the Titanic. That's older than a Model T. And it's older than any other light bulb should ever last. So I think that's crazy
These
that
days,
they have this. Yeah. It's like the eternal flame of the FD, for a fire department version. It's our little internal flame. So I hope that never goes out. What was that like when you guys visited that?
I mean, it's pretty cool. I actually, we had known about it while we lived there. We actually didn't go to check out the light bulb until much later. It was probably 6 years ago or so, after we had the 3 boys and we were back out there visiting some folks. And so we thought they'd think that was cool, went by and checked it out. It's funny. It's more of like a symbolic light bulb,
Okay.
than it is like a functional source of luminance, right?
Right.
They let it burn at like 4 watts. So it just sits there. It's like a large filament, like Edison bulb, big, blown glass Edison bulb. But it's cool. Like, it's hanging up there, and it's something that the town is really known for. A lot of people out in that area know about that, and it's been featured on a lot of different things in the past. But I think it's just a cool source of pride for the community too. But it is funny. It's like, yep, there it is. It's a light bulb. It's like
what I want to do here is I want to give a shout out to the reason why that I was able to know about this particular fun fact is because I spent 2.5 hours of my life yesterday at the Verizon store in Kalispell, Montana, and it was actually my technician. His name is Daniel, so it's a shout out to Daniel at the Verizon store in Kalispell. He was the one that shared this fun fact with me about this light bulb. I was like, once he found out I was a firefighter and, here in Whitefish, and I was like, okay, I've definitely got to say something about this on the show. So that's again, Daniel, thanks for that great little tidbit. Really appreciate you and your service. So, guys, I think this has been a very fun, interesting episode. We've kept it at least relevant to some of the conversations that are going out there in today's world, very current with the Epstein files, talking about some of the near misses in the aviation world. And I think that there should be continuous questioning and pushing for better standards, and for us to improve in the flying world. We should get to have transparency from our elected officials, and hopefully you've enjoyed some of the fun facts here on the show today. We just want to make sure that you out there in the listening world, if you're a firefighter, make sure you're taking care of yourself, those that you love, and we care about you, and make sure that you're always out there being safe.
This has been the Original Firefighter Podcast. Thanks for watching and listening. Tune in each week on Wednesdays for a new episode. Like and follow us on all social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today.